Okay. We're on the Mishnah Pet Zainim of base.
I just had the place and I lost it.
Yeah. Pet Zainim base Mishnah. Halacha Gimel. Everybody see that? You know what? Why don't we move back one because the table's empty. It'll be further away from the noise. Okay. I just have to notice when it goes off. Somebody says, let the truma of this bushel or this pile of grain be within it. And let its meiser be within it. Utrumas meiser b'sochel and trumas meiser within it. However, he didn't specify a location. You're an idiot. You're an absolute, utter, and total fool. Because you're going to ask for your whole kri this way. Because you won't know where the trumas and meises are within it, and therefore the whole thing will be meduma. So you are an idiot. But the question is whether your idiocy works, okay? In other words, you didn't designate a specific location, you just said it's within it, does that suffice? So Shomer Koroshem, yes, it's a valid designation. Chomrim, it's not a valid designation. Shomer, until you designate a specific direction. Shomer Ritzvono on the north, or B'dromer on the south. Reb Eliezer Chasma says, Omer Trumas HaKeri Hazem Imenu Olav. If you said, let the truma of this creed be upon it. Now it's similar to the ratio, except he says it only works by truma, not by anything else, not by maestros. By truma it works. Well, you say, let the truma be upon itself. Kara Shem, he doesn't have to designate a specific place, because by truma it says v'nech shav. So even by machshava, even without designating a location, it already takes effect. Lozman Yaakov says, Omer Isur Meiser Zeh Asui Trumas Meiser Olav. He limits it even further. He says it works to say, let a tenth of a tenth be a Maya Trumas Meiser, and that's Korah Shem, but only by Trumas Meiser, not by anything else. By everything else, you have to specify a specific direction or a specific location. By Trumas Meiser, you do not, because the word of V'nech Shav, which tells that Truma can be taken off by thought, is written in the context specifically of Trumas Meiser.
The Russian is different though. Risha says B'Socho, and here it says
love. Yeah, but you're right. Right, you're right. You're picking up a deal that the Gemara will pick up on, but the Gemara Mishnah itself doesn't make that clear. That's true, though. You will see that in the Gemara. Let's skip now to the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi Bar Bumisher Rabbi Yochanan said, I said Rabbi Shimon Kebei Shammai. That which Rabbi Shimon said that it works is like Beis Shammai. Just like earlier in the Masech, the Beis Shammai said if you take Trumas and Meitzes from olives on oil, so it doesn't work, right? You need to take from one finished product and the other. But the olives themselves are partially tithed, because on olives themselves you can tithe it. So therefore, an amount in the olives corresponding to the amount of olives for which you have to take up Trumas and Meitzes are meiser. So just like Beis Shammai there said it works, so Rabbi Shimon says it becomes Trumas and Meises, even though it's going to cause a major mix-up and a major loss perhaps to you as well. Nonetheless, it works. Ad Kedun. Now, we're going to make Dr. Spidel's diuk. Ad Kedun, so that we see only in the Reisha, where he said that let Trumas and Meises be within it, which we understand to be in the middle. Amar Bo. What about if he said, let it just be not bisocho within it, but bo in it? Is that the same thing? The Shmina Minador, the time, let's learn from the following bites which says, Meiser Shein Shebechevet Zemriyo, Meiser Shein in this object, Mechulal, and it's redeemed alamo salalu on a certain amount of money, below kavalo makom. And you didn't set a specific location for the Meiser Sheni, right? In your fruit or in your grain or whatever it was, you didn't set a specific location. Rabbi Shimon says Korah Shem, it works. Chachamim lo asav lo klum. Chachamim said it's not valid altogether. Ad shomer tzon v'drom, until you say in the north or on the south. Hadar marad, this teaches us he tocho he bo, right? We didn't draw a distinction here because here Rabbi Shimon says it's about a case of Meiser Shei Shebechayvet Zeh. He said Shebechayvet without designating a direction, right? and without even saying besocho, so that works. So this teaches us that hiotocho hibo. Now it says the Gemara, fine, accept that, but divrei chachamim. Where do I get a chachamim shita that there has to be a specifically designated direction? Where does that come from? This is very strange. Right? If not for the Kavanok, it would take me hours to understand it. The way he's reading it is divrei chachamim, question mark, where's chachamim shita come from? Chachamim will say you have to have a specific directional location. Where do they get their shita from? Okay, that's Gemara's question. So Rabbi Zir, B'Shem Rabbi Dumi, the Min Chaifa said, B'Shem Rabbi Shim Ben Lakish, Tziv, Nechshav Lachet Trumaschem V'Harei Moisem. You should consider your truma and pick it up. And there's a hekesh going on. Matoirim B'Mesuyam, just like when you pick it up. Even though it says Torim here, it means when you pick it up. Right? Torim in Hebrew means Laharim. To lift up, right? So just like Torem b'Mesuyam, just like when you pick it up, it's designated Af Machshava b'Mesuyam. So to the thought has to be in a specific designated location. That's why Chachamim argued, say B'Socho or Bo is not enough. Rather, you need B'Tzvono, B'Tchombo, or etc.
The lashon here is the opposite. It says Ma Machshava Mesuyam.
Ma Machshava Mesuyam. Oh, that's unfortunate because that's incorrect. Yeah, his girsa is better. Okay, just like Torah means the harama. Yeah, that's better. Sorry. Okay. All right, the Rikbaz doesn't change it there? You don't see anybody who changes it? He says like no, it doesn't change. Okay. Again, we're dealing with an idiot, right? Oh, Hashem, a lot of idiots in this Masechta. Yeah. What? Lawyers and rabbis. You said, I want to put the truma of this kri and this one in this one. But he didn't say which and which. So you have two kris, and you're taking truma from both of them of one. But which one remains a mystery. Oh, that's not it. I'm sorry. First you did one and then the other. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up with the case we have later on. You said, here's a kri and here's another kri. So you said, let the truma be in this one on the north. And let the truma of this one be in this one. So does that work? So I say yes. Why? Because the truma of this one is mesuyam in the north of this one. Even though I didn't specify when I got to kri number 2 that its truma should be on the north of kri number 1. But since when I did kri number 1, I specified that its truma is on the north side, so this one gets schlepped along as well. Okay? That's what it means. So I'm at truma sakri hazeh. You did truma sakri hazeh, short form for meaning that I did that by designating the north side or whatever. And then v'zebes, I did the second one in the first one. On Rabbi Yochanan Malkum Shistayim Trumos Sharishon, the place we designated the truma in the first one. Sham this time with Trumos Shein, that's where the second truma is designated as well. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Elazar, boy, he stated, right here's boy as a statement. Seyal Truma Shenova Tochakeri, if you have a measure of truma which fell into a specific location in an untight batch. Let's say it fell in the north or the south. It fell somewhere where you know. And then Amar Truma is true. That was already Truma. And then Amar Truma Sakriya Zebesocho. And then you further went on and said, let the Truma of this batch be within it. And you didn't designate a specific location, the place where the first sayah fell, I say that's where you intended to make the truma. In other words, in the location where whatever fell in there fell, that's where you intended to make the truma now, which you are designating in this one internally. Am I clear? Am I so clear? This is a batch of tevel. Along came some truma and fell in. Now I still have to be Torim this one, right, on itself. So I say, I just said, let Trumas Krisa be Besocho. So it says more, it's as if I said, let the truma for this be next to this one. Wherever this fell. If it fell here, it's right here, right here. If it fell here, it's right here. If it fell here, it's right here. The bottom line is that there's a linkage drawn between the truma I am now creating and the truma which fell in. It makes no difference because there's no bittul involved here. Okay, so even if it's a batel, it's not really batel. It's a rice it is, but because bittul is majority. But you need 1 in 100. We're not talking about a case where it's 1 in 100. Okay. Says again, Mokum Shenufel also say the place where the first truma, which is right there, fell in. Shom this time, but truma shall carry. That was where your intent was to place the truma, the rest of the batch. Tanya, Amar truma is kri bitzvono. If it said let the truma of the kri be on the north side, michetzi tzafon medamea. You don't know where exactly the north side. So anywhere the north side is meduma, it's potentially truma, potentially chulin. Vinasa Paugan, you have to give half of it to a Kohen and make the Kohen pay for the other half. Right? Because half of it is coming to him, right? But half of it is not coming to him because it's only a safek. You make it, north is not the entire half, but rather you make it like a kai. And it's 1 out of 4. Meaning, no, not quite. Close, but no cigar. It's a good thing banks still provide deposit checks, otherwise you'd never have any scrap paper. If this is north, so you divide it like this. I did a lousy job. Well, you get the idea. So in this case, north would be this direction. That would be north. Okay, this triangle. Or alternately, if it's like this, so north would be one of these two directions. Yeah. Right, that's no good. I guess in this case it'll go like this. It'll be this one. Right. Okay? It's not like this. You see the difference? This is diamond. And this is a triangle. Okay? Again, Kai is the next. Also, so come in Kai. Chad min arba, you give him 1/4. 1/4 is the question. Shigam leomer noito trumos mitzvah tzvon. No, Chad min tamnai. It's not even that. It's 1/8. And he says it's like this. The kavanok in the back, but it poses. This is the only part where you assume there might be truma, which is 1/8 of the entire thing. Okay. That's my place. Yeah. 1/8. Truma shnei karyim be'echad. What if you said let the truma of two batches be in one patch? Rabbi Yochanan says that one of them for sure works. Was one of them for sure work? I forgot. Oh, okay, right, because Rabbi Yochanan wrote a relative clarification. And here it's somewhat more clarified. Why is it here relatively clarified? Because I picked one batch out of 2. In other words, where is it totally unclarified? Where my mokum suffix is not diminished, as to where the truma should be is not diminished by having designated possible Let me rephrase that. When do I say that? When do I say that it's not designated? When it's one batch, and I'm ambiguous about how to divide up that batch. But where it's two batches, even though I'm ambiguous, by definition, there's a clarification that I said let it be in one of the two batches, because it's clarified that it ain't in the other batch, and that's sufficient to make it considered to be Mesuyam, and that's why it works. Mesuyam meaning designated. Okay, let's say inside. Truma shnei kerim back when you make the truma of two silos in one fell swoop. So I say that works. I don't know which one is the truma, but it's only one of the two. And that's sufficient narrowing of the scale to be considered to be valid. That's not sufficiently limiting of the possibilities that should be considered maybe truma. Omar Rabbi Hoshaya Bar Shammai, Hoshaya said, let's say you had two measures and one batch, and the measures are what you intend to make the truma. So you had two measures and one batch. You said, let one of these measures, become the truma on this batch. Well, you didn't designate which one. Kitchuv and you do easy, so it's mekadosh, but you don't know which one it is. What about the exact opposite case? Right in front of you, two batches and one sauce, so it's only good for one of them. One of the two batches nitkan, and that one is rectified, but we still don't know which one it is, so there we have to bring something else in order to get out of a suffix, right? Then have to bring another saw and to take care of the other carry again, which you don't really recognize because you didn't identify the first one. So you should identify the second one, but nonetheless you get the idea. Okay? Says the Mishnah further. Going back to the Mishnah Locha Gimel. Hamaktim Trula Bikurim. If somebody gives Truma before he gives Bikurim, or Ma'aser Rishon Truma, or you give Ma'aser Rishon before you gave Truma, and Ma'aser Sheni, let's start over again. Hamaktim Trula Bikurim, somebody brings Truma before he gives Bikurim. Or Ma'aser Rishon, he gives Ma'aser Rishon L'Trumas Ma'aser before he gives Trumas Ma'aser. Or Sheni gives Ma'aser Sheni before Ma'aser Rishon. Even though you transgressed the negative command, Masha also asli, it works. It says, do not be late on your grain and your truma. On your bikurim. Mascha is bikurim and dimacha is truma. Yes. Yes, it is. Tomorrow is going to bring down parallel kind of discussion.
And such a person could be
What?
You could use such a person.
That's right. That's what comes up here. Okay, let's see if I can stay awake for the rest of shiur tonight. How do you know Bikurim comes before Truma? You have that? The Mishnah? Okay. Right, I know Bikurim comes before Truma. Zekor Truma Veracious, because L'chaira they're the same. Both of them are called Truma Veracious. The Zekor Truma Veracious, the Zekor Truma Veracious. El Yuknuma Bikurim Chain Bikurim Lakol. Bikurim come first because they come first. They're first fruits. Truma Rishon, Truma goes before Ma'aser Rishon. She Rashis because it's a first thing, right? It says Rashis, whatever. So Seichem Chayil Tarim B'Truma. Ma'aser Rishon L'Sheni. Ma'aser Rishon comes before Ma'aser Sheni. She Yeshbo Rashis. It has Rashis in it. What's the Rashis within Ma'aser Rishon? What's the Rashis within Ma'aser Rishon? Trumas Ma'aser. Ma'aser Rishon has its own Truma, which is Trumas Ma'aser, which is the Rashis in the Rishon. So that's why Ma'aser Rishon comes before Ma'aser Sheni. So Meiser Rishon is not called Meiser Rishon because it's the first Meiser. It's called Meiser Rishon because it's got Reishis in it. What's the Reishis has in it? Trumas Meiser. Okay? Rabbi Chama Bar Ukva b'Shem Rabbi Yisrael China said, "Mashu." This is Mamash what you said. Mashu oive b'astem below saseh. Since he transgresses a lot, atoyedeya mashu also. Where'd it go? Did you take it down? I'm just curious.
Oh, no, there was a stone.
Oh, it wasn't the burning bush.
Oh.
Okay, right. Are you getting a burning bush back? All right. Uh-huh. All right. I thought. You know why I thought they took it down, right? We discussed it, right? Yeah, right. Rabbi Yisrael Chanina said, "Mimashu over below saseh, since the transgresses a lava to them mashu asasui." This is what you're bringing down from tomorrow, right? Kol adam rachmana lo savidi avid lo mahani. Anything which Torah said not to do, according to Abaye, there I believe it is, if you did it, it doesn't work, and therefore you don't transgress the avera. Since it says here in the Mishnah that you do transgress the avera, so it means it does go through, right? So it takes effect and you get flogged. Well, that's actually going to be the Gemara's next question. You get flogged for it. Rabbi Zira said, "Mesivin kuma Rabbi Yochanan v'shosik." They asked him for Rabbi Yochanan Shaila, and he was silent in response. Ma oiver. What is it when he transgresses avera? Loike or ain't a loike? Does it get malchus or does it get malchus? So Rabbi Yochanan wouldn't respond. Ask Rabbi Yaakov Barachov, Amar b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yaakov Barachov came and said, "Rabbi Yochanan ain't a loike. He doesn't get malchus." Ask him, how can you say it's a blatant issue of the Torah? Do not reverse the order, do not change the order of your bikurim and your truma. So it says the Gemara Pasala B'Biur. He says it's nothing to do with how you tithe. It has to do with how you do biur in the 3rd and 6th year. Every 3rd and 6th year, when you come up to Yerushalmi for Aliyah L'Regel, Pesach time, you have to eradicate all the maasros and all the netar avai and stuff which accumulated in your house over the past 3 years. So they learn B'Le'aschov the Machal Lo Sa'acher means do not make it tarry past the 3 years or past the 6 years. By then, square all your books. That's what they learned it to mean. But it's nothing to do with how to separate Trumas and Maasros and in what order. Okay? I just said. Amos say over. When do you transgress? Rabbi Chia bar Rabba mar bitchil, the moment you take off Truma, even though you haven't had taken off Bikurim. The saying of Truma out of order is by definition Avecha. He said you only transgress once you took off the Truma after the Bikurim. If they are the Bikurim first is not sufficient, you have to take off Truma after Bikurim. What's the nafkamina? Who cares? It says more Siruf Hakri Nabi Beneo. The difference between the two is where the Kri burnt after you took off the Truma before you took off the Bikurim. So if you go after the Tchila, you transgress this, right? Because you already took off Truma prior Bikurim. If you go after the Sof, he didn't transgress this yet, because he didn't take off Bikurim yet, right? In order to consider him to be a Baal Avera. So then we got burnt up. That's right? Nothing. Unless you're B'tchila. But so we're not going to show. I'll die to Rabbi Chia bar Abba, according to Rabbi Chia bar Abba, who said that it's B'tchila, right? When you do the first thing wrong, even before you do the second thing out of order. So, over. You transgress, right? Because Lamaisa, you already were over by taking Bikurim before Bikurim. They don't transgress unless the Avera is fully complete. In order you don't get Avera. But you time base or Shmuel bar Abba boy, Ma'aser Rishon Shekdim b'Shivoli. If you took Ma'aser Rishon off in the stalks, Mamsha we had this morning. Over or ain't over El Seder. Do you transgress? There's only transgressions once you start getting to the actual truma of the Kri itself, and the more it doesn't answer. Tani Kumi Rabbi Avo. The Tan for Rabbi Avo said Truma ain't makibetz the bikurim. Truma does not impede the bikurim. You take off Truma before bikurim. That seems to be a kasha in our Mishnah, because I read contradiction. Amar lo, so Rabbi Avo said, pnimun he, dava pnimunu. This Mishnah doesn't argue on our, this price doesn't argue on Mishnah. It's a completely different issue, and it's Abba Pnimon. What are we talking about? What are you referring to, which is about Abba Pnimon? Armalese said, Rabbi Mona Shamis the Abba. Rabbi Mona heard it from his father, which is Rabbi Yonah. Tani Bikurim that the Bryce is about Tani, that we learning Bikurim B'Yamino, where he's doing them about Basachas. He said he was Bikurim and Truma simultaneously. Bikurim B'Yamino, Bikurim is right hand, Truma is small, and Truma is left hand. So in that case, the question is, what's the status? Is that Taver or is that not Taver? He's Tanoi over. Some say since the Basachas you do transgress. He's the Tani. Some say Tani, you learn Eno, you don't transgress. Precisely because they're both simultaneous. So says the Gemara, Mandam who says you do transgress. The Rabboni, that's Rabboni. Mandam Eno over Abba Pnimon. So Abba Pnimon holds where they're simultaneous, they work and there's no Avera. So it's Rabbi Abba Pnimon who said that Bryce we had a minute ago, truly in Makivas and Bikurim, it doesn't mean you're allowed to Bikurim before, true before Bikurim. But he did them both simultaneously, they'll both take effect. That's all we learn from there. Okay? Says the Gemara for the Mishnah further. Halacha Dalet. Hamiskavi loyma truma. Person intended to say, I want to make this truma. But he's a klutz. He's not an idiot, he's a klutz. Okay? He said, Vamar Meister. He said Meister instead. Meister, then to say it should be Meister. Vamar Truma, he says be Truma instead. Oila, he said it's going to be Oila, and Vamar Shlomi, he said Shlomi instead. And vice versa, Shlomi, Vamar Oila. She'eni nichas avai, he said I'm not going to go to his house. Well, that's what he intended to say. Vamar Lozei, he said another house. She'eni Nena said I'm not going to drive enough from this person. He said he met another person. Lamar Kuma doesn't meaningless and doesn't cause him any problems. Actually, people shoving unless he is harmonized in his heart and in his mouth, in which case you're stuck because he said something very weighty, which has very bad circumstances. Well, not bad, but basically, yes. In that case, we don't assume that it's a mistake. Okay, if he said if there's an adult and we don't assume it's a mistake, so then he has to suffer the consequences. What? Unless he thinks what he's saying.
So his intention is one thing. We had this in the
yeah. You have to have in mind. Peter didn't. Yeah, but the thing is, like, when I'm said an adult, if it's because I'm half asleep. What I meant to say is when the person is, cognizant of what he's saying. So then, very often, he doesn't. It's like we said by Kiddush. Said by Kiddush, person doesn't have to have das be motzi. They're sitting around the table. It's dam das to be motzi. So here in Mamish had to have das to have said A and have said B. But Stam Das is not going to exempt him from the words that he's saying. That's really what I meant to say. Okay? I'm making that up. I don't know if it's true or not. A person has said Oilo. And later I said I didn't realize what I was saying. Still good. No. He asked that, well, yes. If he says I really meant to say Shlamim, but said I wasn't thinking about what I was saying, I don't think that will exempt him. Right, so I'm saying, I know, believe Shavim. You're saying it sounds like it's be aware in his heart. What he's saying, I don't know if that's literal. Maybe it is, but I don't know if it is. I would tend to doubt it. I would say people leave Shavim, it doesn't mean he necessarily has to be fully cognizant of what he's saying, but rather that there should not be a contradiction in his heart between what he's saying. In our Mishnah there is, that's right. Okay? Tamatanina. We learned over there. Beis Shammai says, Hektish toes, if one made a mistake in do you have a Gemara? Yeah. Yerushalmi says hektish, tos hektish, made a mistake, make hektish. Too bad, it's still hektish. There's so many made on the hektish, it's not hektish. Rabbi Yirmiyah says even he wanted to say chulin, and you ended up saying it's an oila, according to Beis Shammai kodsha, it's kodosh. Let's not be that hasty. We're only talking about a case according to Beis Shammai where we intend to make something hektish. He thought, however, that he wanted to make it some other kind of hektish. Or he brings down to the bottom, he said, let the first black ox which come out of my house be kodosh. Let the first ox... Yeah. And the black ox only came out later. So nonetheless, the first black ox which came out, wherever it is still kodosh. Something like that. But in any event, has to be that it's somewhat similar, not completely dissimilar. So if that's the case, what is our Mishnah? Where our Mishnah, where it says he was mechavein to say oila, it said shlomim instead. So Adait Rabbi Yirmiyah, machlokas according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, it's a machlokas. In this case, the Shammai says it's still going to be hektish, right? Adait Rabbi Yossi divrei kol. According to Rabbi Yossi, it goes like everybody. I'm a little bit lost here. What? Yeah, I'm really learning it wrong. You're right, I'm learning it wrong. Means Beis Shammai would argue in our Mishnah. Because our Mishnah say hektish tos is lav shmei hektish. So our Beis Shammai would argue. Our Mishnah would be like everybody because Beis Shammai only made their statement where we can explain away what he said.
In some way, what he said. I'll explain what he said.
He told you what's the floor, and it was nice and go. Whatever it says shiur, you didn't hear it straight from him. It may not be true. Maybe
okay, the thing is like this.
Tomorrow,
the sheet of Rabbi Yirmiyah is that regardless of what mistake you made, according to Beis Shammai, hektish tos is shmei hektish. Makes no difference. You make a mistake, hektish, it works. According to Rabbi Yossi, it depends. You have to have in mind to make something kadosh, but not in the order in which it was expressed. Meaning, he gives the example over here that if somebody says, I want the first black ox who comes out of my house to bring a carbon,
I understand what he writes.
Oh, I see what this is. We gave it between the two trees or so.
Okay, I got it. Let's go back a couple lines. Afilu bought Lomar Chulin Vamar Ola Kadsha. Even if you intend to say Chulin, said Ola, it's Kadosh. Rabbi Yossi said, don't be so hasty. Rather, Miskam and Lektish Anu Kayomin. Talk about a guy who intends to make Hektish. And with Shatoa Machmas Davracher, but he made a mistake because of something else. Meaning, not just that he intended to make Hektish, but he intended to make Hektish or the fashion in which he made it. But, he said the wrong thing. Here he gives an example. I thought I was going to be able to avoid this. Here he gives an example. A person says, I want the first black ox which comes out of my house to be kadosh. And then a white one comes out, and a black one only comes out afterwards. Beis Shammai says it's kadosh. I said I want the first black ox that comes out of my house, first black horse comes out of my house to be Kaddish. Turns out it's not a horse, it's a cow. Then Moshe used that example. Yeah. So it's a Gemara example of Gemara non-Nazir. So in that case, he holds, Rabbi Yossi holds that hektish, tosah shmei hektish, kohen beis Shammai. Because I really wanted to be makdish. I really did. But I slipped up in how I did it. Still misleading you guys. Let's try again. Sorry, I'm talking through a frog. You have to forgive me. Yeah, I'm not making myself clear. What happens like this, Kohen beis Shammai, you have to have a scenario in which you wanted to make something hektish, and you messed up in how you made it hektish. In that case, hektish tosha shmei hektish. So our mission could be going like Rabbi Yossi, because our mission doesn't say here Tov Amar Chulin. Niskaven lomar chulin, v'amar kachim, that it's hektish. There's no such thing in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, the minimum, you have to have mind to make an olah, and then we do shlami. That's like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yirmiyah holds, even if you didn't have a mind to make hektish A, you make hektish B. But you have mind to make a chulin. You got in mind, you wanted to be makdish the horse. You said, we wanted to make this horse Kaddish to Arlington racetrack. And he was ended up saying, no, let it be Kaddish to Bedek Abayis. So according to Rabbi Yossi, it's not going to work, right? According to Rabbi Yirmiyah, it does work. So our mission is going like Rabbi Yossi. Okay, Rabbi Yossi could hold our mission like Beis Shammai, because it says here, it's something which you had in mind to make kosher, just slipped up, made it some other form kosher. Right. That's all it is, and I'm just, because I'm tired, I'm not getting it right. Okay? Says again, Rabbi Shammai argued that Mishnah go even further and say even if you made a mistake between chulin and kosher, it still will work. Rabbi Yossi, our Mishnah goes according to everybody. Tani, we learned. How do we know this whole concept? Because it says bisfasayim v'lo b'leiv. A shvu has to be enunciated. It cannot be in your heart. Maybe if you're really sure in your heart, you're really sure, maybe that's sufficient. It says you have to express yourself. Without expressing it, it's nothing. And this Shmuel explains, if somebody concludes in his heart, ain't no chayiv, that's not considered to be a chiyuv korban for transgressing a shvuah, until you enunciate it. Ask where you say this. What time do we learn? Calling a div leiv, zagorn believe. Anybody who's charitable of heart, that's a person who completes in his mind the thought of giving tzedakah, and that's binding. If you made a decision to give tzedakah, you must give that tzedakah. I told him zagorn believe. Wait, I'm going to miss what? Yeah, no, the Gemara is going to come out with a slightly different conclusion, which maybe you'll support that, but not different enough. I mean, well, let's see it. It's about somebody who says in his heart, when he has to specifically say it. It says the concept of shvus in the Dorim. You have to watch that with traditions for your mouth. He says specifically it comes from your mouth. So what does it mean? They're calling the div leiv. Is that gomer believe? Even if you're going to believe, that's sufficient. Yeah, right. So it's how many call div leiv. I said gomer believe. The receive in the Bryce that that's sufficient. But that's what Shmuel says it's not sufficient unless you enunciate or verbalize it. That's by korbanos. Now, what Shabbos was saying, called the div, once they made the decision they have to bring the money, that is by tzedakah. And they're two different parameters. Right. You have to err on the side of doing it over again. Okay? Haloche. Is that clear, Dr. Smith? Haloche. Anochi v'akuti. A guy and a Samaritan. It's almost over. Shetorim mishalohem. They own fields in Eretz Yisrael, and they took trumas off their own fields. Truma, it's a valid truma. U'maiser saying maiser, and their maiser valid maiser. Hekdesh and hekdesh. They made it valid hekdesh. Rabbi Lamer ein lanochi kerem revai. It says yes, that's all true. But if a nochi in the 4th year after Orla decides to make it holy and bring it up to Yerushalmi and eat as maiser sheni, which is the status we have, it doesn't work. It does work. Truma is anochi medamas. If the truma of a goy falls into the Yisrael's mixture of grain, creates meduma, the chayla of chomish. If you ate the truma a goy made, so you have to pay a chomish on it. You have to pay a chomish. The Rabbi Shimon pointed, Rabbi Shimon exempts you. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Time. Oh, this is all the Rabbana, it seems. Oh, I take that back. We'll see. I'll take that back. Tanya, we learn. Hotzev Truma Toch Beiso. Now, what if a guy says, a guy comes to Reuven Cohen, mad up name, and says, here, Reb Reuven, this is my Truma. You may eat it. So, Hotzev Truma, Tanya, Hotzev Truma Toch Beiso, Nogi Bucket. What? Nogi Bucket. What?
You're eating the food that Goy gave you.
It's only didn't buy wine. So I didn't buy this. Pasakum, yeah. You weren't glad. So could be that he made a mistake. The guy could be he took truma apples on oranges, right? Or grapefruits on pears, and so on and so forth. So therefore, we have to assume it may be truma, but maybe tevel, divrei Rebbe. You don't have to worry about it. It's definitely truma. The guy comes to a Levi and says, "Here, Dr. Fidel, here's my Meiser Rishon." No, Meiser Rishon. So good. Oh, I don't know if you have that. Do you? You do? No, I like to have Meiser Rishon. Again, according to Rebbe, not sure if he took it up properly. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says that you only have to take off Trumas Meiser and Truma Gedoyla as any, because you suspect that he didn't do the other things properly. But which he did, you believe him on. Similarly, if he brings Meiser Sheni out from his house, Meiser Sheni, tree like Tevel, and like Meiser Sheni, L'chumra and L'chumra. Divrei Rebbe. You only have to separate that which is he didn't give you, which means that you have to take off Truma Gedoyla and Trumas Meiser and Meiser Rishon. But you can assume that he was correct in saying this is Meiser Sheni. Rabbi Yossi Barbun, Rabbi Choshash. Rebbe's always assumed that afraid they might take from apples and oranges, and therefore Rebbe always makes it take truma over again. Shagam says, I'm not concerned he's going to take from the wrong patch. He's not that big an amoritz. Right? He knows that you have to take. He knows that you have to take from fruit A on fruit A, not from fruit A and fruit B. What am I afraid of? Shema Yikdim. Maybe he did the order wrong, and that's why I have to say maybe they just took off Meiser Sheni. By the time he got to me, I have to take off the other matanos.
So the lady that gets the Meiser Sheni, Meiser Rishon from the Goy, is he have to take Trumas Meiser?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. The chayav of chomesh. If you eat it, then you chayav of chomesh. Rabbi Shimon says you're exempt. Rabbi Zera Rabbi Avo. Rabbi Zera said, I said in front of Rabbi Avo, mapli im trumas grono. This is what I tell you about the crop raised by the guy himself. But if a guy bought the fruit of a Jew, Rabbi Shimon Moide, even Rabbi Shimon concedes that if the guy then took up truma and Yisrael then ate the truma which the guy took off, so it's originating in a Jew's field, so then there's a chi of misa, he did the wrong thing and he gets punished for it. Right? Again, Rabbi Shimon, even Rabbi Shimon concedes that
We can't buy it.
what?
You should not rely on his
Well, not just no. No, he can teach you Chayav Chomish. Chayav Chomish that the guys have Rasha on the stuff which grew in a Jew's field is mamish truma. So ratcheting it up the level, not ratcheting downgrading the level. Okay. It's still machlokas. If Shimon holds in our mission there's no chomish in the case of regular truma, certainly holds there's no chomish in the case of this stuff. The kasha of Rabbi Shimon, it's difficult to Rabbi Shimon. Poiter tivlot v'altoira. Rabbi Shimon holds that if you took off this, if the if a guy took off this truma from the guy took off this truma from the Jew stuff from the miracles done Adam's Jews, it is valid. Is it? Yeah, that is a question, right? Point to Tivlo Dvayatori, you can be pater on his own. He can pater the tevel of the Jew. I think that's what it means. The guy who got fruit from a Jew. No, it's not the stuff we're saying the Jews. The guy got the grain from the Jew. And now he has his possession, he can take Trumas Samaisis off it, and that works for us as well. Okay, that works for us. So it says the Gemara, it works for us. You say that there's no chomish if you eat it. As Rabbi Elon said, Daim Machloket. According to Rabbi Shimon, the truma the goy takes off is a valid truma. It works even though you want to the rest of the fruit for a Jew. If that's the case, if some Jew turns around and eats the goy's truma, why is it not chayiv keren v'chomesh? Should be chayiv both, right?
Now he's requiring only 0.6.
Maybe because he's a goy. He is chayiv misa v'dei shamayim. The restitution says for me. No, because the Torah specified the double penalty. Okay, so it says about. Besides, it could be talking about shogeg here. That's even better answer. Talking about shogeg, but just about making. Yeah, whoever's eating it. So it says his kachim are doraisa. This is the answer. Shimon holds that also the guy, when a guy makes a korban, it's doraisa. Rabbi Shimon exempts you from several facets. The Taniyah we learned over there. Kachim goyim and a chayv leim mishum pigol. Kachim of goyim, even though it's kachim doraisa. There's no pigol in the korban of a goy. Noiser, there's no noiser korban. Tommy, there's no Isser Noiser by a goy. Shor put to be shel matzah based on Mikdash Porter, you're exempt if Rabbi Shimon. No, goy can't make something. Goy can only make olah. Yeah, only olah. So obviously we see that there, even though the kachim is doraisa, there's a diminished status of kedusha to it. So would say Rabbi Yochanan would say Rabbi Shimon, even though the truma works with the doraisa, it's a diminished status of kedusha. It's diminished status of kedusha. There's no payment of the fifth. Okay. The internet one we learned today again. Kachikoyim ain't a chayiv alim shapigel. Noise and Tommy. Shabbat chutzpah the Rabbi Shimon who's consistent. Rabbi Yossi says you're chayiv. Havam boy meimar ma pligei b'chomesh. We want to say maybe the Malchus Rabbi Shimon Rabbanon is whether there's a chomesh or dimur lo, but maybe there's no machlokas as to whether it does create meduma. It definitely does create meduma. So we found Hiyador, they're both so similar. That they're both at the same parameters. If you're chayiv and chomesh on the According to Mandamar, you chayav chomesh when you eat the guy's truma. So too, if the guy's truma falls into a Jewish batch, it's medamea, and vice versa as well. Okay. New parak, fourth parak. Hamafish mixas trumos umaisrus. Some of you, idiot factor. Idiot. Ready? Hamafish mixas trumos umaisrus. This is an amazing idiot. He had, say, 100 bushels. Midrabanan, how many bushels should he take off truma? 2. He set outside 1. Midrabanan, how much should be ma'aser rishon? 9.8. He set aside 9 or 8, and so on and so forth. Right? So he didn't do the whole thing, even of this batch. He never finished. Right? He did part. He did half. Whatever. So mapish means the trumas and maisers. Motzi men a truma love. So later on you can go back and finish the process. Avalor makamachar not, but you can't do it on anything else. Now this, the Gemara never says explicitly, but the Kabbalah brings down, this bright Mishnah holds yesh breira. Even though I only did half, I can come back later and say, you know what, now I'm doing the second half. The thing is, why does breira have to be employed here? Because how do I know that now what I'm taking off, I never designated specifically what I'm pattering and what I'm not pattering. All I know is that half the dough, wherever it is pottered. But I don't know which is the half which is pottered and which is not. So what gives me the right to come back and say, oh, but what I'm taking now is tevel for sure, and this can be truma for sure without any problems. I have no right to do that. The only way I can do this is if I say yesh breira, that it can be clarified subsequently. So I say when I come and take again, so it's clarified that this what I'm taking now is the tevel, which I can use to meiser. But even that, the Gemara is not willing to countenance, the Mishnah is not willing to countenance that it's going to work for anything else other than internally. In other words, internally, that batch, I can go back and do the second time. But that the second time around, I can go back to the batch and take Shuvas Samaitis off another batch, that I can't do. To that extent, they weren't prepared to say prayer. Okay? That says not somewhere else. Right, Mayor, no. Prayer goes so far, you can even take on something else. Trumas Samaitis. You can even take to come back the second time and take on other locations. Now, bear in mind, we don't paskin like this Mishnah because we paskin and breira by doraisos, and this is even talking about truma doraiso. Okay, masizuk sheepish or taitu lafish. Our Mishnah is talking about where he separated and has in mind to separate more. That's his intent. That's what gives us the license to say yesh breira. You separate half, and you had in mind to separate more. Shmuel b'shem Rabbi Zira said, masisa b'stam. Our Mishnah is by Stam. Just like we talk about Kiddush, remember in Brachos, Stam sitting around the table, same idea here. He didn't have in mind any das. He just did it. Right? What is he arguing? I'm related, no, so he's not arguing. It's Tamakifish of a Daitul Lafish. Mistama, I'd say, if you separate out, later on, I have to come back and take off the other. Ma'ben Moitzi Meimenu Allah. What's if later on the second time around you're taking internally or taking externally? So the Gemara basically goes to the mechanics of breira here. When you're taking from it itself, kol tevel ola biyado. So I say when you come back the second time to finish the process, it's all tevel in your hands. When you're taking from it on somewhere else, Mizel will be other. So I say maybe it's not all tevel, maybe it's partially tevel and partially truma. So now the Gemara literally guffaws at this. Good word, right? Gemara makes mincemeat out of this Gemara. Gemara says, "Come on, the kasha. That's what you're saying? It's absurd. That means Notal. This is Yankel. Yankel's coming. Yankel the idiot is coming here. He's saying, okay, I'm going to take off now half and leave the second half for later, right? Here's my first half, here's my second half. So now he takes up his first half. Now he comes back and says the second half. Picks up, he says, when he's picking up, he's going to take it for here, for this carrot cream in Eubate. Then he picks up and says, you know what, now I'll do it for the next Cree over. So it says more. So what happened? It changed midstream. Let's see that inside. Kasha not to menu Olaf. When he picked up the second half in order to do it internally. So then he said, Breyer works. Call it tevel ola biado. And this is all tevel. Then the next moment, you change your mind, decide to use it on this. All of a sudden the molecules change. Then it's rendered unfit, and I say it's from both the tevel and from the truma. In other words, everything has to do with his intent later on, and he can change his intent, and that changes retroactively what's in the batch that he's just picked up. How can this be? You can't. The whole concept of Briesh Breyer here makes no sense. Mar's not going to answer this question. Mar just reverses the question. And similarly, the exact opposite. He picked up with the intent of using it somewhere else. So I say it's no good. Because I say what you have in your hands now is part tevel and part already meiser stuff. Now you change your mind. You say, no, I'll do it on this itself. Call it tevel, all the other. Now it's all of a sudden, presto, magic, abracadabra, all became tevel. How could this work? Can't be. The Mar doesn't answer. Piches. Call it tevel, all the other. What about the following case? Originally it took 1/100th with the intent to take 1/50th altogether, right? Truma Gedolah. So it took 1/100th, then take 1/50th. Then he decided, you know what? Instead of taking 1/50th, I'm going to be a miser. I'm only going to take 1/60th on the whole batch. So therefore, the second time around, he took a little bit less than half. So then, that's okay. Call tevel because it's less than you originally intended. So if you say breira, where it's 100th and 100th, it's certainly you say breira where the first time was 100 and the second time was only an 80th or a 60th, not an 80th, 120th or 140th, because you're taking less than you originally intended, right? However, what if you decide to be moisif? Now you decide to be magnanimous and give 1/40th. Hosif, then you can't do that. Mizel labiodo. Breira only works to the extent that you originally intended and lower, not higher than that. So therefore, I originally intended to take a 50th and then change my mind to a 40th. So then the next time when I come the second time around, I'm taking actually more than my original Breira would have allotted me. And therefore, in that case, I say that it's no good because now in the handful, I'm getting part tevel and part something else. Part something is already done. Afbetoya came. What about a case where a person made a mistake? In other words, originally he had in mind to take a 50th, and now he takes a 40th by accident, right? Not intention. So say right? You thought it. He thought to take 2 sin. Oh, so the Gemara gives an example of a mistake. He thought it was chayiv to give 2 sin. No, it's the second time around that he has to give 2. But he's only chayiv 1. So now he took much more than he has to. Right, that's the case I was giving essentially. He thought he has to take 2 sin. He thought he has to take 2 sins. Right? But he really was only chayiv 1 sin. So he took much too much. He overreached the second time. Rabbi Yashem Rav Lakish says, also says Shum Mafresh, the additional one she took, which he doesn't have to use, also saw Truma Makom Acher. It's still considered to be that he took from Tevel. Breira works for that. Breira only doesn't work where you maliciously added on too much more than you intended. But if it was Beto's Breira, and if you added on by mistake, so Breira still kicks in for you. So says the Gemara, wait a second. Can we learn you're not allowed to use it for someplace else, only internally? So what's Rish Lakish saying? Use it on Mokom Acher. Tipoter b'marbe b'truma. It's talking about where you made a mistake. When you made a mistake, so then Breira parameters are relaxed and you can use it for something else. It says marnicha b'marbe b'truma. That's good. By truma, it's kind of flexible because truma has no precise shiur. But meisus lo tani Rabbi Shimon meisus. But what about by meisus? By meisus, there is no flexibility. Meisus is a precise tenth, right? So therefore, what happens if you add it on a meisus? There also, Rish Lakish will say, well, it will be flexible. There's no flexibility allowed by meisus. The lo tani Rabbi Shimon Lakish meisus. What does Rabbi Shimon Lakish do about meisus? It says meisus in our Mishnah. So what happens if you made a mistake in meisus? What does Rabbi Shimon Lakish do in that case? El time of the Rish Lakish, ki Rabbi Meir. Larger Rish Lakish, Rabbi Meir. He came and do Omar kol tevel ola biyodo, since it's all tevel. The bottom line is it's all tevel. Brera goes to such an extent that I say everything he picks up, again, we don't understand why it works this way. It seems very arbitrary. So everything he picks up is tevel. So therefore, as long as it's a mistake, makes no difference whether you're being motzi on itself or being motzi on someplace else. So Reish Lakish holds of the more lenient view of Brera. In other words, if Brera even works, that it should be considered that I'm saying that everything I take up now is tevel, not just if I do it for internal purposes, but even for external purposes, that is sufficient. Okay? So we'll come back to this tomorrow. To what extent we won't be here tomorrow, but you can say, we'll come back to this tomorrow. To what extent we actually say Brera Aloch L'Maisa, which is not at all. As his mother's was from Shevet Yehuda, and that's why he's called me Mishpachas Yehuda, because although on his father's side he was a Levi, on his mother's side he was from Shevet Yehuda. And Vugarsham, he lived in any event, Beis Lechem, although it belongs to Yehuda, this Levi was living there. Vayelech ha'ish me'ir, Beis Lechem, Yehuda, this person left the city of Beis Lechem, so to seek his fortune, to go live where he would find Parnasa. Vayavo Ephraim, and he came to the mountain of Ephraim. Abeis Micha, and he came to Micha's house, Aslastarko, just to pass by. He didn't intend to settle there. Vayomelo Micha said to him, Be'ainato, from where are you coming? Vayomelo said to him, Levi Anochi, I'm a Levi. Mi Beis Lechem Yehuda, I came from Beis Lechem. And I'm going to live where I'll find a place. Micha said, you know what, Shvoi Modi, stay with me. Be my father, in other words, be my patron, my director, spiritual mentor. And you'll be also my priest. I'll give you Aseres Kesef, Liyamim, $10 a year, is a big salary in those days. Ve'erech begodim, and I'll give you amount of clothes. The version say 2 sets of clothing, one for the summer, one for the winter. U'michyascha, and that which you want, that which you need to live. Vayelech halevi, and Levi went. So Zach said he went to fulfill the Micha's contract. The mom says at first he didn't want to hear of it. He left. Only later did he reconsider and come back. Vayoel Levi lo sheves hazish. And he coined the Malbus means, he changed his mind. He said, you know what? I'll do it. But first, says the Malbim, here again, the Malbim says there's a progression, a regression downwards. First, he just wanted Lashevet Saish. First, he just wanted to live with him, not to be a Kohen Avodah Zarah. He just became like a member of the household. I guess he did chores, he did work, but he didn't yet become a Kohen. But then, Aveira Goreres Aveira. He lived there, he got influenced. Vayimale Micha's Yad HaLevi. Micha then appointed this Levi, and what happened was, obviously, Vayilu Anar L'Kohen. He became the Kohen. Vahi Bebeis Micha, and he remained in the house of Micha, fully in the house of Micha. Now he became this Kohen.
It gets weirder and weirder. He had a son that he made a Levi, even though they weren't from Shevet.
Right.
He made him a
But that was like with Yev. This is the Chadchila.
Along comes someone
From Shevet Levi, and now he says, looking at the parak, Micha said, Atoyatati kieti v'Hashem li. Now I know I'm really being Oived Hashem. I'm really doing the right thing. Ki hoya li halevi l'kohen. Now I don't have to use one of my sons. It's only a mere Ephraimite to be my kohen. Now I got a real bona fide Levi to be my kohen. Now things are really wonderful. Okay, now obviously this requires a lot of explanation. I'm going to see if we're going to have to finish next week, but let's start what Reb Tzadok says on this. There are 2 Reb Tzadoks on this.
For one thing, it's a clear advertisement for strong centralized government.
Oh yeah, certainly we're laying the groundwork. You can make the case. You can make. Yeah, you can make the case that the last prakim in Shoftim are laying the groundwork for the kingship which comes in Sefer Shmuel. You certainly can make that case, although the Parshim don't seem to say that. Now, let's, these are two Reb Tzaddiks from the Tzidkas HaTzadik, which is Reb Tzaddik's major sefer. This is his magnum opus. This is, I told you, I think once before, several times, this is Mesilas Yesharim of Chasidus. And he learned two very basic things from this parak. And let's first see Kuf Pei Aleph, and then next week we'll see Lamed Tes, because I don't think we'll have time today. And you know what? Let's see Lamed Tes tonight. We'll come back to Kuf Pei Aleph next week, because Lamed Tes is shorter. Kuf Pei Aleph speaks more about this grandson of Moshe Rabbeinu. Lamed Tes speaks about the last pasuk of the parak. Pa'amim nidme l'adam sheish lo siyata. This is very depressing. Pa'amim nidme l'adam. Sometimes a person thinks sheish lo siyata d'shmaya l'davar shoyse. That God is on his side in that which he's doing. Al yismoch al zeh. Shouldn't rely on this. Lamor to say shedavar tofu. That's a good thing. V'ulay kain, and this is the cheshbon a person makes. If not, lo yakush baruch hu ozer or Hashem wouldn't help me. Shirak laboli tarmisai, because God only helps those who come to purify themselves. Avoboli tame omrurak poitzlom l'masayin, by somebody who comes to make himself defiled, it only says that God opens the way for him, but not that he helps him. So this is all a cheshbon. Person makes a cheshbon. Oh, if God is helping me out here, it must be that I'm on the right path. Says a tzaddik. Can't assume that. The mikoma kom pa'amim, because there's nonetheless the times yeshlam nisayim siyu. Sometimes they help you out for your test, the v'chayotze, or something like that. U'k'moshe itza b'micha, like it says by Micha. Shlomo said, "Atoyidat chiyeti v'Hashem li." He thinks God is helping out. V'shem ze ba'avaya. We mentioned before, Yud Kei Vav Kei is helping out, not Baal, not Ashtores, not some other God. He thinks this is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shu Kodesh. Kinisa b'Shvuos. And it says, Yiyeti v'Hashem li, ki hoya li alevi l'koyin. Harari choshev she'o siyata d'shmaya. He thinks, I have siyata d'shmaya of Ezer Loki, and divine assistance laws mean lo alevi l'koyin, that the Levi should be l'koyin, l'hetiv lo, and make things good for me. Omnam Razal, it's true Razal Amru. B'tanat ve'elio, ki micha kafar ba'anochi, micha denied anochi. U'v'malkom acher. 2 more minutes. U'malkom acher, and somewhere else, which we saw already tonight. B'yarti, I explained Shukafir b'shorish ha'Yisraeli, that he denied the shorish ha'Yisraeli, which is, he gave Hashem a form. Vayin shom b'yuro. Rak v'chela nimtza mishayach chas v'sholom, and maybe, says the Tzaddik, you can make the argument that this is only true about the guys who were built into the bricks. Okay, the guys who were built into the bricks, they were mekukal to begin with. They came from a bad source. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe, it's not the time for them to be rectified. Someday yes, but now not. So it says the Tzaddik, Nebuch. Who says we're not like them as well? Especially now in the last generations, you never can tell. We think that we're holy, we're tzaddikim, maybe we're like Micha. And therefore you can't make the argument, well, Micha was different. Who says we're any different than Micha? So what do you do in such cases? If you can never tell, so what are you supposed to do in life? The only eitzah is tefillah tachnuni l'rachamei shemayim. Is only to daven for Hashem's rachamim. Hamoli ilim lahapich gam hashorish, which help person even to change his shorish neshama. K'mosh kasafti b'makom acher, a pasuk leivtar b'roli yokim, the bria b'chol makom hainu yesh mi'ayin. Sometimes the Kodesh Baruch Hu can change a person in his bria, in other words, ex nihilo, to begin with, kanoda, which perhaps we'll see next week. So Reb Tzaddik says, very basic and depressing principle. Which is you might think you're on the right road, but you can never tell. And you can't tell from the fact that things are going good for you that you're on the right road. Just like Micha thought he was on the right path. And it's true, Micha had this special defilement. He was one of the guys in the buildings. Who knows? Maybe we're also from the guys in the buildings. So says Reb Tzaddik, never be too sure of yourself. The only thing you can do is daven, and try and fulfill Torah and mitzvahs the best you can. But you always have to be ready, and this is what the Bali Muslims say, although Tzaddik doesn't say this explicitly, people have to be ready to concede mistakes in life. You have to be ready that if somebody comes along and tells you, listen, you're making a mistake, this is not the way to do things, you have to be open-minded. Because the fact that you were successful till now is not a sign that you're doing the absolute right thing. And it's depressing, but not all of life is happy, even though Mishnah Nichnas Adam Marvim Simcha. So it's a good thing to think about.